Engine 5, Lesson 3, Functions, Macros, and Custom Events. So in this lesson, we're gonna cover the three types of called types of events that can be called in Unreal Engine 5. All of those can be summoned in any type of blueprint. So the first one is a function. So you can create a new one in a drop-down called functions, just add a plus. You can name it whatever you want. It has a blueprint. It has an input, one input of execution. So like one execution node in, one execution node out. And you can add as many as you want input and outputs of any types of variables. So it can be pure. So if you see in the details panel, it says pure or not. So if it's not pure, it has an in execution and out execution. If we make it pure, you see it's gonna delete the execution. So it's not executing anymore. It's doing on its own. So that's a macro. I mean a function. Now a macro is pretty much, it's similar to a function, but it has some special traits. So first of all, when you create a new macro, you see there's no there inputs are and outputs are empty. So the thing about this one is it can have no input execution or no output execution. So the input can be an execution node if you see like that. So technically it can have no input, no output, or if we do it like that, add an execution and delete execution here, you can have no input. So yeah, as you've noticed, unlike functions which can only have one in, which always have one execution in, one execution out, you can have multiple or none executions in and out. So like a lot of them, which adds up to the logic. So they're pretty convenient. Also, macros are convenient when you're working with something that will take time. For example, there's a node AI move to. This node tells a character to go to a certain destination or target actor. So you see there's a little clock sign near the uh, upright node's corner. It shows that this is a latent node, which means it can take more time than just a frame, because while AI moves, it can move for a long time. So you see there's an on success output, which will work only if it's success, and on fail only if it's failed. So in functions, you cannot call any latent function, any latent nodes. So like AI, you can do AI move to, or actually you cannot. So if you can, there's no AI move to because it's a latent node. So you cannot call any latent node inside the function, because the way functions work, this will activate the function and it will go ahead further in the code. So it will not, if here we have like a large code, it will not stop here, complete it, and then go here. It will go here, start it, and then go farther. And it does not wait while the function is complete before it goes there. It does not. So in the macro, as you can see, we added a latent node to a new macro, and the clock sign has appeared because now it's a latent node. So the way macro works, if we input here, this will activate the macro and it will wait until it's fully complete, and then it will go farther into the code. So that's the difference between macros and functions. Also, something I didn't tell you about functions, it can have local variables. So like, and they can be used as normal variables, but they are only used in the function. A macro does not have custom variables. And the final one is a custom event. It's different from functions and macros because um, it doesn't have a separate drop-down menu. You just right-click on an empty space and then say custom event, and there's a new custom event. So as you can see, there's no output possible, so it cannot have an output. But I mean, it goes through anyway if you want it to. So, but it can have some inputs. Yeah. Um, Also, it does not have since it's an event graph, like the common event graph, it does not have any custom variables, but um, any latent nodes can be called in here because uh, it's the common event graph. It does not have any restrictions on what nodes to use. But if you plug it here, so we have a latent node connected to our custom event. So logically, when we call this custom event, it should have a latency sign attached to it, but this does not. So the way custom event works, it can call a latent node, but it works the same as a function. So it activates the event, and then it does not wait for it to finish. Actually, it does not wait for it to finish. It goes through it anyway. Doesn't no matter if it's complete, if it has completed its job or not. So as you can notice, custom events, functions, and macros are pretty different in use. So you should use them in different use cases. It just adds up to your code functionality, and you should always choose which one is better for your purpose. If you have any questions, feel free to tell me.